Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I am talking about why walking away is attractive and the power of walking away. So this is good advice that you can take if you are trying to get over an ex, if you are trying to reattract someone, whether that person is an ex or someone that maybe rejected you or perhaps was a little bit interested in you and then they just suddenly just disappeared, because I know sometimes that can happen a lot. You wouldn't believe actually how common that kind of thing is in dating, where you meet someone, you feel like you two are getting along really well, and then suddenly they disappear for one reason or another. So why is then walking away, going into no contact, basically vowing to yourself that you're no longer going to interact with this person, why is that so attractive? Why is walking away like that so powerful and so attractive? So the reason why I believe this is because you get your self-respect back, right? Because if you've been doing the opposite of walking away, such as over pursuing, so you've been messaging them too much, like let's say you're messaging them way more than they're messaging you, you're trying to phone them up, you're trying to get in contact with them, you're trying to work things out. Basically, that makes you look very needy and very unattractive when you do that kind of thing. And it also pushes the other person away even further. So even though it may seem like the right thing to do when someone dumps you, when someone rejects you, or someone just disappears for whatever reason, it seems like the right thing to do to message them, to see what's up, to try and fix things, try and figure out what happened. That seems like the right thing to do, when actually the best thing to do is to give them that space. It's to leave them alone and to basically walk away from them, right? Because what you're displaying when you are being needy and you are messaging them and you are trying to fix things is you are desperate to keep them. You're showing off that you are desperate, right? You're showing off this very needy, desperate energy. And unfortunately, that is very, very unattractive, especially to someone who already has maybe lost some attraction for you. So you're just making it 10 times worse and pushing them out of your life even further when you beg, plead, try to fix things, try to resolve things, okay? So the best thing to do when someone dumps you or rejects you is to say to them that, you know what, that's fine. I'm going to go and find someone who does love me, because, you know, I want to be with someone who loves me. And if you don't love me anymore, like you clearly don't, or you don't like me anymore, then that's okay. I'm going to go and find someone who does, because I want to spend my time with people and be in relationships with people that are into me, that want me there, right? And then you walk away and you go into no contact. And what that does then, when you are walking away, this is what that displays, right? It displays self-respect. You're not going to put yourself in any position where you are not wanted and valued, right? Because that's what you deserve. You deserve to be with someone who wants you there. You deserve to be with someone who's not going to dump you, who loves you for who you are. Now, of course, there's always the chance, and you know, more than a chance a lot of the time as well, that maybe they dumped you for a reason, or they rejected you for a reason. Perhaps you know, they just weren't attracted to you anymore, or perhaps there was something going on in the relationship, especially if you were together and you got dumped, that you did, or there was a misunderstanding or something like that. There can be reasons for that maybe you could have controlled, that you could have done a lot better with. So sometimes it's not always best to just always put the blame on your ex, and just think, okay, they just dumped me because they don't value me, they don't appreciate me. Well, was you appreciating them? Was you valuing them? That's a good question to ask yourself. Now, if you have and you feel like you've done everything right, then fine. But it's good to look back over the relationship with like a fine-tooth comb and figure out things that you could have actually done better, right? And it's also a good idea to figure out as well, you know, what happened with you? What was going on with you when, you know, things were leading up to the breakup? And what I've seen, and it's quite common, and not many people like me, you know, saying this to them, especially if they're really desperately trying to get their ex back. But you got to think, okay, but what was going on with you? You know, if your ex dumped you, perhaps they dumped you because you had stopped putting your best foot forward. You know, you'd stopped dating them, you stopped communicating with them properly. You were basically not, you know, doing the same things that you did when you first met. And you've got to ask yourself why, right? And usually when we get to the bottom of that with the clients that I've got, they usually come to the conclusion that, oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't putting my best foot forward because I wasn't really as attracted to them. I didn't really want them as much as I did than what I did at the beginning of the relationship. And basically what had happened for a lot of cases that I've seen is that they actually fell out of love with their ex. It was only by being dumped. It was only by being dumped by their ex did they start to become more interested in them again, because, basically the scarcity created the value, right? That their ex suddenly disappeared, and it made them want their ex back. Because there's a quote that I really like by Tony Robbins, and I think it's so true, and that is, rejection breeds obsession. So you're more likely to be really intensely attracted to someone after they've just dumped you or after they've just rejected you. And I think it has a little bit to do with the ego, feeling like, oh no, you don't love me anymore, why not? I'm great, right? We can't help but just feel a little bit like that if we get dumped or if we get rejected. We try to figure out, what did they do? Maybe I can convince them. Maybe I can change their mind about me because I'm actually really great. And you probably are, right? And I'm sure you are a great person. But that's one of the reasons why you might start to want your ex back, because the rejection had bred the obsession. But if you actually look back over your relationship, sometimes you'll find, not all the time, but sometimes you'll find that, yeah, you know what, I didn't put my best foot forward because actually I was falling out of love with them. And maybe my ex dumped me because they could tell that I was falling out of love with them, and maybe they were falling out of love as well. So that's something else to think about too. Like, maybe this was meant to happen. Maybe, you and your ex are not supposed to be together because actually you really don't love them. Because what happens then, if two people do get back together, right? If two people that separated do get back together, what happens a lot is they get back together and it's great for like a couple of months. They have great makeup sex and it's amazing and everything feels really good and nostalgic because you're going back to someone old and familiar. Not necessarily old, but that could be the case too. But the point is that when you go back to that person, sometimes what can happen is the relationship ends anyway, because both people get back into that relationship, they realize that nothing has changed, and then they separate again. And then usually that's for the final time, or they go through a series where this kind of thing keeps on happening again. They keep on breaking up, getting back together, breaking up and getting back together, because they're looking back at the relationship with nostalgia, right? And because they're looking at it with nostalgia and rosy-colored glasses, basically, they get drawn back to each other, right? But when they get back together, it doesn't last very long, because the same issues are still there. The things that make them mad are still there because no one's changed, right? Nothing's changed. So usually, but then again, at least if you got dumped, then you can still, you could end it now on your terms rather than getting dumped. But it's better to just really think about that relationship. Now, sometimes, you look at a relationship and you think, yeah, well, I actually really lost someone really good. I lost someone that, I felt like was a good egg, basically, right? And we had a good relationship, and perhaps some things got in the way, and people tried to tear us apart, and that's why the breakup happened. And usually that's the only reason I can think of as to why it's a good idea to get back with an ex. If you genuinely feel you lost someone good and the relationship was fine, they were lovely, you were lovely to them, basically, they were lovely to you, you date each other, you communicated, both of you were always putting your best foot forward to try and impress the other one, you didn't have these feelings of, oh, I kind of wish I could go back to my old life when I was single, and you didn't have that kind of like yearning for the life that you once had before you met your ex. Because a lot of the time people do feel that way when they're about to break up with someone. They start to get nostalgic for their old life. And if you're feeling nostalgic for a time when you weren't in your relationship, then of course you're not going to put your best foot forward, and your ex is going to notice that, and then they're going to dump you, or maybe you'll dump them. But usually the person who falls out of love faster is the one that dumps quicker, basically. So it may have took you a little time to fall out of love with them, and maybe you still had some feelings for them, which is why perhaps now rejection has bred obsession and you're trying desperately to get your ex back. But walking away from them is super attractive, right? It's super attractive because you're showing them that you have self-respect, you're not trying to fight for the relationship, and if you genuinely feel like you've lost a good person, they will see that, right? They will see what's happened. They'll see that you're no longer trying, and if they still have feelings for you, then they're now the one that's going to have to pursue you to try and keep you in their life, right? So if you're serious about getting your ex back, then this is one of the best ways that you can do that, because basically it tells you everything you need to know, right? So it tells you basically whether or not you should move on or not, and it also tells you if that person still has feelings for you, because if they come back, then you know, okay, I don't need to move on from this person, I don't need to find someone new, and also it shows me that they still care about me and they still love me, because they've now pursued me now that I've gone ghost, now that I've disappeared from their life, right? But if not, if you don't hear from them, then you know, then, okay, it's time to move on. Now, of course, you know, you need to give yourself some time with this, you know, but you got to figure out how much time you are going to allow, basically, for your ex to come back into your life. I always like to say, you know, if someone dumps you, just assume right then and there that they're not coming back and automatically start trying to move on. Now, when I say start moving on, I don't mean jump into bed with the next person, right? I mean taking some time out to heal, get back to who you used to be before you was with your ex, getting back into your old hobbies, getting back into seeing your friends and your family and spending time with them, improving the quality of your life, so you can give yourself some time, right? And it depends on the length of the relationship. So let's say you were together for a year, right? Then it'll probably take you about a year to get over it. If it was just for a few months, then it should only take you a few months to get over it. If you were together for multiple years, then you probably need at least a year and a half to get over it, or so you start feeling better, because you don't want to get into something new while your feelings are really intense. So you've got some time there, and maybe when you've walked away and you're healing and stuff, maybe your ex will come back during that time, or maybe they won't. But the point is that you are moving on with your life and you're healing, and you're getting on with, you know, what you want to do, basically, you know, creating a great life for yourself, and what happens will happen, right? Because the good news is that you're either going to get your ex back, they're either going to come back into the picture, or at some point in the future, hopefully soon, you will find someone who is way better for you, right? Because there's no better way than getting over an ex than, when you've taken the time to heal, of course, you meet someone new who is better looking than your ex, who has a better personality, who you get along with more, right? And there's nothing better than finding someone who is just an absolute level up from your ex, maybe a few levels up from your ex. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.